And a good Tuesday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in here for a look at your extended forecast. Going to start out this extended forecast a little bit different because we have a big update in the tropics that we need to talk about. So let's go ahead and talk about now Tropical Storm Jerry. So as of the 11 a.m. advisory, this tropical wave that we've been monitoring for potential development has formed into an official tropical storm. 45-mile-per-hour winds, a pressure just above 1,000 millibars at 1,006 to be exact. And Jerry is booking it, moving to the west at 24 miles per hour right now. Jerry will continue to maintain tropical storm status and eventually strengthen into a Category 1 storm. But as of right now, the latest cone forecast only has Jerry strengthening into a Category 1 storm. It's going to brush up against the Lesser Antilles and portions of the Leeward Islands, getting into the Virgin Islands, maybe close to Puerto Rico. I think some outer bands of rain are going to impact those areas, some gusty winds, but overall not looking like those areas are going to see the brunt of tropical impacts. Then Jerry is forecasted to take a northward turn directly up towards Bermuda. That is an island we have been talking about a lot lately with recent tropical systems, and that looks to be sometime on Sunday morning as it's creeping close to Bermuda. The big thing is we do see this northward turn. Hopefully we can continue to see Jerry steer back out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and away from the United States. But as it does stand right now, it looks like it's not even going to get close to the eastern coast of the United States. So it will be something we continue to update you on periodically over the course of Jerry's lifespan throughout this week into the weekend. But we also have another area that we are monitoring down in the tropics. Obviously, you just saw that red wave that popped up behind me. It's just taking a while for this individual model right here, the outlook, to update because we only get those at 8 a.m. and then 2 p.m., 8 p.m., and then 2 a.m. So once we get the 2 p.m. update, that red shaded area should go away. But we also have this yellow shaded area that is right now a good cluster of some showers and thunderstorms that is moving over from the northwest Caribbean Sea around areas like Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula. It's continuing to move over land. So we talk about these tropical systems. When they move over land, they start to steadily weaken. They need some of that warm water in order to strengthen. So once this wave does move across the Yucatan Peninsula into the southern portion of the Gulf, that's where we should probably start to see some better organization with this. But as it stands right now, it's very slim 10% chance of developing overall. That includes the next 48 hours and that includes the next 7 days. We'll continue to keep our eyes peeled since this area is a bit closer to home here in the southern United States. But as of right now, it doesn't look like a good chance that this system will develop. We'll continue to monitor any changes with that. So we are now crossing Jerry off the Atlantic hurricanes names list as we go across into the later portions of hurricane season. Hurricane season officially ends on November 30th, and while October isn't as active of a period of hurricane season compared to August and September on record, we still can see our fair share of named storms form. So crossing off Jerry, that now makes the 10th named storm in the Atlantic basin so far in hurricane season. What's going to be next if maybe that area around Yucatan and the southern Gulf does get its act together? That would be the 11th named storm, which would be tropical storm or potentially even Hurricane Karen. But as of right now, it doesn't look like Karen is going to form over the course of the next 7 to maybe even 10 days in nature. We'll continue to keep you posted with the latest updates on the tropics, but right now, especially here in central Georgia, nothing to worry about. We'll continue to monitor Jerry if we do see a potential swing in that path. But right now, it does look like there is high confidence that Jerry will stay out at sea and head up towards Bermuda and continue to stay out in the Atlantic Ocean. Now let's get into your forecast, specifically here in central Georgia. We had some rain yesterday, so let's talk about it. Some of those isolated spots here in central Georgia did luck out with maybe even an inch or two of rain. 1.1 inches down in portions of Bleckley County, just north of Eastman, 1.4 inches right on the Dodge and Telfair County lines. You can see 1.3 inches, and then some areas like this right over here, 2.3 inches of rain over in western Dooley County, just under 2.5 inches of rain to the west of Byron, 2 inches of rain in portions of Crawford County. It was really a good cluster of some heavy rain that actually moved across this straight line right here. You're actually seeing a pretty good diagonal line all the way up through portions of Upson County into portions of Pike County. But most areas in central Georgia, didn't get too much rain. You only got a couple tenths of an inch of rain, and that's going to continue to be the case over the next couple of days. But let's zoom in on the Georgia National Fairgrounds specifically. If you tuned in at 5 and 6 o'clock yesterday, yes, you probably saw Ben and Lori got caught in a pretty heavy shower for about 15 or 20 minutes. Well, that shower only equated to about 4/10 of an inch of rain. Definitely not enough to alleviate the dry conditions that we've had, but hey, it is something, and we're off to a faster start in the month of October rainfall-wise than we were in the month of September. 2 consecutive days in a row that we recorded some rain at Middle Georgia Regional Airport, recorded 0.36 inches of rain. Now, I have seen some totals closer to the airport that maybe even got upwards to an inch, so we could see a revision to this data. But overall, so far in the month of October, I know it's only been, about 5-6 days, and 0.45, just under a half inch of rain in total. That puts us nearly a fourth of the way up to the average mark of 2.34 inches of rain, which we typically see on October, or in average in the month of October. And the record set back in 1959. Don't think we'll get anywhere close to that 9.39 inch mark. But so far, just taking a look at where we do compare, are we so far off to a wet start of October? Are we off to a dry start? Well, with 2 consecutive days of rain within the first 6 days of the month, you may equate that as to a wet start to October, but the rainfall totals are just putting us back near normal so far for where we should be at this point in the month. But the good news is we continue to have a couple more days of rain chances, not only today, but into Wednesday and Thursday, that could continue to add to some of those totals. And it's coming at a very opportune time. As of last week, we saw this area of moderate drought expanded into portions of south and southeast central Georgia, abnormally dry conditions in the yellow color just to the north, and another shade of that moderate drought stretching into western Upson County, right on the county line of Taylor County as well. So that moderate drought, we talked about all of the symptoms and all of the things you may start to see in light of that. The main thing you need to know is water your plants and water any of your backyard garden crops that you may have out there just a little bit more frequently throughout the day, mainly in the morning and in the evening hours, where you can limit the amount of evaporation. And after you do water them, maybe spreading a bit of mulch on top of them. That's going to help that soil keep that moisture and contain that moisture just below the mulch. It will limit the amount of evaporation that you do see. And along with that, make sure that you're not setting your sprinkler for a couple more times throughout the day. Your grass is built to withstand some of these drought periods that we do have. It will go dormant and it stores up a lot of water, so it can definitely handle its fair share of some dry stretches. Just continue to water your grass as you normally would, or maybe water it a little bit less frequently. It's a little bit counterintuitive of what you may think. We're under some drought conditions. They may need some more water. Don't go watering your grass a little bit more than it does need. So a few more days with rain chances as we go throughout the midweek. Cold front will begin to come through starting tomorrow, and we're still going to see some impacts from that cold front as we go into the first part of Thursday. Then after that, we're looking clearer and cooler for the weekend ahead. It is a great forecast, so we'll talk about what's in store at the end of that 7-day forecast in just a moment. Here's a look around the quad here in central Georgia. We do have a few scattered clouds in the forecast all across our 4 sky cams. The least amount of cloud cover, I think, can be spotted in downtown Dublin. We do get a glimpse of that blue sky here looking over to the southeast, or southwest, that is, over Warner Robins. Georgia National Fair, Day 6 got kicked off just about an hour ago when the gates opened at 10 a.m. Looks like folks are enjoying a much better forecast this morning as opposed to yesterday afternoon and evening. And then we go up to downtown Macon, where you can see some of the clouds have some darker bottoms, but we'll check the satellite and radar in just a moment to see if any of those clouds are producing anything in the way of rain thus far. So here's a look at your temperatures. We have some lower 70s, Thomaston, Butler, Monticello sitting at 72 and 73 degrees, 80 degrees already in Dublin, 82 in Vidalia. So like I was just telling you, it looked like down in Dublin that we didn't have as much in the way of cloud cover, a bit more blue sky in the forecast. Well, it looks like that's the case with many of our southeastern counties, because a lot of these temperatures are a bit warmer than what you see, say, farther up to the north and the northwest. 82 for our warmest numbers sitting in Vidalia. How does that match up against the eastern United States? It's actually only 1 degree shy of the temperature in New Orleans, which has been our baseline point for the warmest temperature here each and every morning. But actually, our warmest temperature today, that's going to go to Houston, Texas, sitting at 85 degrees already. It does look like Southeast Texas might be in another stretch of those above average temperatures into the month of October. 80s down towards the south, so the temperature in Jacksonville and Orlando is matching the current temperature in downtown Dublin. Of course, you do have some 70s the farther north that you travel, some 60s still lingering up in Lexington and Indianapolis, and some 50s up here to the north and the northwest. How about a 46 in Denver? That's a little bit too cool for my liking, or actually that's a 48 now that I look at it, but you can see that the top of the number kind of runs into the banner, so my bad for misinterpreting that number. But as you can see, we are starting to see a lot better temperature disparity amongst the eastern United States, indicating that we're going into a cooler portion of the year. We're going to start to see areas farther to the north a couple degrees cooler than areas farther down to the south that are closer to us here in central Georgia. We have seen the humidity steadily build back into the forecast. Your dew point temperatures all morning long were somewhere in the mid to upper 60s. It was just widespread light green, but as we got an increase in your actual temperatures, we have the return of that humid atmosphere, and we're going to continue to hold on to those muggy conditions until our frontal boundary can finally move through. But no signs of that frontal boundary in the near vicinity just yet. Take a look at your humidity levels all across the southeast, where there is a little bit of drier air the farther north that you travel in the state of Georgia, back up into upstate South Carolina, North Carolina, eastern Tennessee, but areas farther over to the west, that's where you are also getting a good glimpse of that humid atmosphere and giving you a good indication of what this frontal boundary tomorrow is going to run into. It's going to run into some fairly warm temperatures depending on the timing of when that front moves through, and along with that, pretty sufficient humidity. And then after the front moves through, we will look at that drier air to usher in. Feels like temperatures right now. This is something we haven't had to really talk about the last couple of days. Even yesterday, we had some warm temperatures, maybe saw a little bit of disparity in the feels like numbers and the actual temperatures towards that afternoon time frame when we saw some of those warmer numbers. But as of right now, we've gotten a bit of a quicker start to the warm up. So we're already seeing some feels like numbers in the mid 80s, 84 in Gordon, Dublin, Sandersville, 86 is what it feels like down in McRae, 85 in Unadilla. Still trying to hold on to that last little bit of summertime heat. Obviously, this is nothing compared to the summertime, because when I would be getting on at 10:30 to do this stream, we would already see some triple digits on that feels like temperature map. So that's our saving grace, but it is still warm for this time of the year. It's October. We would want some cooler temperatures, and I promise we'll have some of that to talk about as we head into the weekend. Here's a look at the wind gusts. Finally got the breeze to subside just a tad. We do see some shaded areas of that blue color, which is more of just a light breeze present in our southwesternmost counties. So sustained winds up to maybe 7, maybe 10 miles per hour in that isolated pocket near Vidalia. I think throughout today, the highest your wind gusts should get up to around 15 miles per hour, maybe a few miles per hour, a little bit higher than that, but I don't think the gusty winds are going to be as widespread as what we've been talking about over the course of the last week. So here's hour by hour temperatures, taking a look at the climb up into the mid 80s between 4 and 5 o'clock this afternoon. And compared to yesterday, it'd be pretty similar to what the high temperature we hit yesterday was. We got up to 86 yesterday, so 4 degrees above average. Your morning low temperature, almost 10 degrees above average. We started out at 67 degrees in Macon. Your average low this time of year, so where we should be around, is actually in the upper 50s now. And that was as of yesterday. We've actually seen another downtick in this number that you will see once we get into your morning lows graphic and talk about what's going to be in store as you walk out the door the next 5 days. Here's a look at the precipitation, that 0.36 inches of rain that we got yesterday at Middle Georgia Regional Airport has seen a slight increase in this number. This number was below 3.5 inches yesterday. So for your departure of rain, we're actually closer to 3 3/4 of an inch above where we should be this time of year. And again, I have seen some totals that were radar indicated closer up to an inch. We might see some disparity amongst this number. We may see a slight increase when they go back and edit it, but also that's radar indicated rain. That's not actually how much rain did fall on the ground, so this could be the correct number that we are looking at. Sunrise 7:32 yesterday, and the sunset was at 7:12 yesterday. Sunset is continuing to get a minute earlier because I know that when I edited your fair forecast graphic earlier this morning. More sunshine today, and a couple of showers are still going to be in the cards. Yeah, well, yesterday we were talking about today. It was going to be a mostly sunny day, maybe a few isolated sprinkle showers, but it didn't look like you had a really good chance of seeing that whatsoever. We've seen a bit of an increase in those rain chances, and we'll go over the latest model run of Future View here in just a moment. But more than likely, what most of you are going to be dealing with is another high temperature in the mid 80s, paired up with plenty of sunshine. So definitely going to be a warm afternoon, because obviously 86, a couple degrees above that average high of 82 degrees this time of year. But when you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel a little bit warmer. How about anywhere in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees during peak heating this afternoon? You're probably going to find yourself rooting for a bit of a rain shower to at least cool some of those numbers down. But those aren't the warmest temperatures we've seen there over recent months. And the good news is, as you head across this evening, conditions are feeling a lot better. We're feeling like the mid 70s as we go to the 9 p.m. hour, and we'll continue to see a steady drop in those numbers as we go overnight. Here's a look at your satellite and radar picture. Not seeing anything in the way of rain so far. It just looks like we're seeing some better cloud coverage pop up into the picture. Mainly scattered up to the north and northwest and here in central Georgia. Some cloud cover down towards the south, but also seeing an isolated shower down there closer to Savannah. That's the direction that we are looking at our rain chances to come into the forecast, but I still think it's going to be a few hours before those rain chances pop up in the picture, and some areas in central Georgia have a bit of a better chance of seeing that rain than others do. So now, satellite and radar as a whole, we do see plenty of cloud cover and some scattered showers up to the north, back into Tennessee and Kentucky. Not really seeing any signs of that frontal boundary pushing down towards the south and the southeast just yet, but I do believe it's going to start to kick into gear later today, and it will kind of be on our doorstep as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow. So here's a look at what Future View has to say. 2 p.m. looks like scattered showers, maybe even a couple of storms down to the south and southeast of us. Some of those will try to push into central Georgia. Take a look at that. That's a pretty defined line of cloud cover right there, maybe indicating a bit of an outflow boundary. But your rain chances today are mainly going to be driven by the sea breeze. So it's going to be blowing some of that Atlantic moisture a bit farther inland, but we already have plenty of moisture in our forecast. So you will continue to see maybe a few spotty showers. Wouldn't even rule out maybe a rumble of thunder or two, although I do think whatever you see in the way of rain today is just going to be of the shower variety, maybe about a 20% chance in our southeasternmost counties. So Dodge, Lawrence, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery, Treutlen counties, not just for those select areas, but areas around them are going to have the chance. It's just the farther south and southeast that you travel, you will have some better rain chances than, say, up here in Macon, up in Monroe County, up in Jasper County. And then as we go overnight, that rain fizzles out of the picture. We go into a clear start to your Wednesday morning, and then starting to see a couple of spotty light showers move into the near vicinity of us here in central Georgia. Then around 2 p.m., it looks like once our temperatures begin to warm up, as that frontal boundary continues to push down towards the south, we start to see scattered showers, maybe even a storm or two bubble up into the picture. As that front continues to push down through central Georgia, this latest model run actually has pretty good progress as we go throughout the afternoon hours. Maybe we could get that front out of here by the time we roll into the nighttime hours tomorrow. That would be a very good thing, but let's continue to see what Thursday morning has in store. Still looks like maybe the front has kind of stalled in nature as it does push through central Georgia. Maybe it's just kind of stalling, and then, you know, kind of how you stop somewhere, you push a shopping cart, you let go of it, that shopping cart continues to roll. That's kind of what happens when a frontal boundary does come to an abrupt halt. It does send those showers in the motion that it was moving a little bit ahead of it, but the boundary itself is still working its way through central Georgia. But right now, the rain chances Thursday morning are not looking that impressive whatsoever. We should have some cloud cover in the forecast, but this northeasterly breeze is going to settle in. Thursday, going to be another windy day in your forecast, but this is going to usher in cooler and drier air from the northeast behind that frontal boundary, and that's going to set the stage for limited rain chances as we head into the weekend. And along with that, we are going to feel a lot more pleasant and a lot more fall-like in your forecast. Future View goes all the way out to Friday at 1 a.m. We'll continue to see what Friday does have in store, because the forecast does get a bit interesting for some as we go into the weekend. I'll show you the long-range models and that's mainly going to be for the Carolinas, but we could have a few rain chances that we're holding on to on Friday. But for your fair forecast this Tuesday afternoon, obviously don't really need to cover this box right here when the gates open, because gates opened about an hour ago. As you go into the afternoon, it is looking good, but it's going to be a bit of a warm day on the blacktop over there on all of those walkways at the Georgia National Fairgrounds. Make sure that you're bringing your souvenir cup, you're staying well hydrated throughout the day. 85 is not too warm, but remember, I did tell you that your feels like number is going to be a couple degrees higher than that. You may start to flirt with 90 at some point, so it's definitely going to be some good t-shirt and shorts weather out at the fairgrounds this afternoon. And then going into closing time, still mostly clear, 77 for a temperature as you go a couple hours just past sunset, which will be at 7:11 later on this evening. So right there around the 7 p.m. hours when you're going to want to look out over into the sky. Maybe you'll have some clouds to create a spectacular image of that sunset. So go ahead and prepare to have your phones out around the 7 p.m. hour if you're looking to get a shot of that sunset. Winds out of the east, 5 to 15 miles per hour, but that is a downtick from what we've seen. We've been talking about gusts up to 25 miles per hour virtually each of the last 7 days. So finally getting a downtick in the winds today and probably for most of tomorrow. But once that front passes through, it will bring back the gusty conditions. So 65 for a morning low tomorrow after 86 this afternoon. 20% chance of a shower, mainly for our southeasternmost counties. I didn't see good agreement amongst the models yesterday, so I was hesitant to put a southeast label on those rain chances. Now I would definitely, in retrospect, go back and put a southeast under that 20%. 40% chance of a shower or a storm throughout Wednesday afternoon into the evening. Not expecting severe weather. You just may have a couple rumbles of thunder just given how warm and muggy our atmosphere is, because a high temperature of 85 should be in store before that front drives through. Then as we go into Thursday morning, not too much change in your morning low temperatures. Still somewhere in the mid 60s. We should still have some scattered cloud cover that lingers into the overnight hours. And then 74 for a high temperature on Thursday afternoon. So it does look like, or as it has looked like so far, with maybe some cloud cover, maybe some rain chances lingering on Thursday. That was going to be the reason that 74 was your high temperature. But I actually think it's going to be because the cooler and drier air is beginning to usher in as early as Thursday afternoon. So some areas could have some peaks of sunshine, but that shouldn't really matter, because as the cooler and drier air funnels in, obviously it won't really matter if it's sunny skies or cloudy skies. We will have the cooler temperatures that are settling in for the afternoon. I elected for a 30% chance of a shower or even a storm as of early this morning. As of the latest model run, definitely does not look like that. Maybe about a 10% chance of a light shower for your early morning commute. But we'll continue to see what the models say. We obviously can't go believing what one model says. You have to see a good reciprocation of the same idea in between model runs in order to get a very good prediction. So if you go buying what one model run says, then most of our forecasts would be wrong about half the time. But I do have a lot of confidence in your rain chances mainly being in the morning. As you go into the afternoon Thursday, I think conditions will clear out. In terms of how much rain are we expecting over the course of the next 3 days, still not very much. You will see isolated pockets that are going to have totals, just like I showed you on the 24-hour rainfall graphic about what we saw yesterday, with maybe some totals around 1 inch, in between 1 and 2 inches. But you will see all of our city locations. Highest value you see is in Dublin, maybe 0.6 of an inch of rain. This doesn't mean that by the time we get to Thursday evening, Dublin will have seen exactly around 0.6 of an inch of rain. Most areas are going to have the potential for a couple tenths of an inch of rain. Some areas aren't going to luck out with any rain whatsoever. But if you are extremely lucky, the localized pockets may get up to about 1 inch or 2 over the course of the next couple of days. And like I said, it's maybe not enough rain to alleviate the dry conditions and get anything in the way of a moderate drought or abnormally dry conditions completely out of the picture. But any little bit of rain will be appreciated, because I did show you the average for what we see in the month of October. It's just over 2 inches of rain. So it's a pretty dry month of the calendar year. We'll take whatever we can get in the way of rain. So your morning low temperatures not really varying over the next couple of days, still above average. And you're probably going to notice the humidity at least Wednesday morning, maybe a tad bit on Thursday. We'll start to see some drier air interact with the forecast as we kickstart Thursday morning, but then we finally feel the difference. Friday and Saturday mornings, lows not only below average, but into the mid 50s and the low 50s. And this is important because 53 is actually the lowest temperature that we've hit so far in this below average stretch that we've had until mainly recently. But 53 we hit back on September 10th for the morning hours, back when we had one of those premature cool spells before we got right into the beginning of the fall season. So it does look like we are in store to at least match that number. We could even see the numbers go a bit lower than that. So obviously giving you an idea that we haven't seen some morning low temperatures like this in quite some time. And your afternoon high temperatures, how about 72 on Friday? We're going to have some clouds in the picture with that 74 on Thursday, but we will start to see some clearing in that cloud cover. It should be a story of mostly sunny skies as we go into Friday and Saturday. Afternoon highs in the low to mid 70s. You're pairing that up with drier air that's not making the feels like numbers a couple degrees higher than that. And finally back below average after yesterday was above average. Today looks to be above average, and Wednesday afternoon before our front comes through does look to also be above average of 82 degrees this time of year. So take a look at your muggy meter. As soon as Thursday afternoon is when we're going to start to feel the drier air, but we don't stop there. We continue to see the downtick in the humidity as we go across the course of this weekend. Dew point temperatures in the 40s look to be in store as we go into portions of this weekend. That is pretty much no humidity whatsoever in the forecast. As you get dew point temperatures in the 50s, that's really low humidity values, but getting into the 40s or less, yes, that's where you're having a very dry atmosphere. And that's going to correlate to our fair share of some mostly sunny days. But it may take a while for the cloud cover and even a couple of rain chances to get out of the picture on Friday. So I've still elected for a very slim 10% chance of rain. It's nothing worth canceling any outdoor plans that you have for football Friday night, heading out to the closing weekend of the fair. And then you do see this establishing itself off the east coast of Georgia, maybe down to Florida and South Carolina. It does look like as this boundary pushes down towards the south, we will see a low pressure center establish itself within that boundary. And then, of course, it's going to be over this warm Atlantic water that is right off the southeast coast of the United States. That's going to try to organize into something that maybe has some tropical characteristics. We don't have this area outlined as a potential area of development as of right now, but it does look like it's going to be quite the rainmaker in coastal areas of South Carolina, North Carolina, maybe even as far as mid-Atlantic portions of the country. And then as we go all the way into Monday, 5 a.m., doesn't look like we have anything in the way of rain here in central Georgia. So I do think Saturday all the way through Tuesday, I have elected to not put a rain chance on any of those days. But Tuesday's not quite on your 7-day forecast yet. That's going to be 7 days in advance, and we look forward to the next 6 days as of right now until we get an update to that. And then once Ben comes in, he'll get Tuesday on your 7-day, which I would imagine he would not put a rain chance, just like I have for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The only bad news is the 70s are going to be short-lived, but this is the longest stretch of the 70s that we have seen recently. So giving you that fall feel in the air, especially the morning time frame, Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning, 52 degrees. So that would go lower than the lowest temperature that we've seen over recent weeks. And we'll steadily warm up as we go into next week. I do imagine some high temperatures in the low 80s are going to be in store past Monday if we don't have any weather systems interact with us, and we didn't see a sign of that happening as we went into the end of the long-range models, rather I should say. We'll talk about Thursday's rain chance in a little more detail over the next couple of days. Right now, at least plan on those rain chances being mainly in the morning hours. And then once again, as we go into tomorrow, that's when we'll get a good view of what's going to happen on Friday for all your football Friday night plans, all of the beginning of the kind of last weekend of fall break plans that many of you may have, which may just be going out to the Georgia National Fair. I personally have plans to go back to the fair on Friday, so I'll be keeping a very close eye on that day. And then as we transition throughout the weekend, lots and lots of sunshine, some great feeling afternoon high temperatures paired up with some very dry air. Absolutely cannot wait for it. And finally, getting a very nice forecast that is coordinating with any of your weekend plans, but still going to be warm, muggy with a few rain chances over the next couple of days. Not a bad thing. Let's get as much rain as we can. Let's squeeze all the rain that we can out of this cold front. Then after that, we can go through another dry stretch. Hopefully the rain that we do get maybe just puts a bit of a buffer on those drought conditions from at least expanding or increasing into more severe forms of drought. And then as we go into the weekend, you shouldn't have to worry about anything weather-wise, except maybe grabbing that light jacket if you're heading out in the morning hours and into the evening hours. So that was a lot to cover in your extended forecast today. And guess what? I'm going to do it again at 11 a.m. once again tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for the latest update on the tropics and the latest update on our approaching cold front tomorrow.